All right, guys, thank you so very much for coming. Great presentation, and we have a full day ahead. This talk is about procedural and AI work and how they can work together and complement each other. We're going to start with a quick sample of a mix of procedural and AI elements. I'm going to break down those soon. I'm Eldad Sery. I'm a technical artist and educator with over 2 decades of experience and thousands of students. Here are some of my latest work, examples of procedural and AI tools, and myself. You might recognize me or know me from NodeNuggets, a social media series of short Houdini and AI tips. You're welcome to follow it on LinkedIn. If you want, you can grab your phone on the QR code. I recently also initiated a free Houdini intro course for artists who are affected by the recent industry changes, and we're covering modeling, topology, automation, terrain, animation, simulation, rendering, and much more. But mainly how to think procedurally. Sorry, wait a second, sorry. How to think procedurally and incorporate with their prior experience. I got great feedback, and I'm planning to continue with that. We have a community, a Discord, and a bunch of lessons. And a bit about my AI journey. Like many of us, I started with GenAI a few years ago, first just chatting and generating ideas and visual references, but then it grew to much more. I generated a lot of images and references and liked it, but kind of felt that they weren't really mine, as they are not. And then I started using it more toward specific assets and elements and inspiration to what I want to build. And I'm curious, and then I was curious how this could connect to real 3D and game development workflows, and how to, I'm guessing a lot of you already tried that trying to generate 3D mesh is kind of inconsistent and is hard to control finer details, which procedural is much better at. And since then, I continued testing it on all sorts of areas, from ideation, docs, GDDs, model generation, textures, PBR materials, rigging, animation, even code, sound, and more. I also ran a little poll, a little survey to see how people use it. I think that the results are not really surprising, but it makes sense. But what surprised me was how many little people engaged with it, like or talked, and how much traction it got behind the scenes. A lot of people answered anonymously, privately, and I got a lot of calls and talks behind the scenes. So I don't know why it is, but I get the sense that people are still watching, looking at it from a safe distance, and trying to figure out how AI and procedural and generation and production will work. So basically, why procedural? I think that mostly because when we build system, it's stable, everything is deterministic, it's scalable and art directable. But we have the weaknesses that manual tweaking is is hard, and limited creation freedom. It's confined to the system. I've been testing mainly images and mesh, but like you'll see a bit more. And mostly for model generation, optimization, scattering, and stuff like that. So if we go to model a rock, we model what we want, the time it takes. But if we build a procedural system, we can get a lot more rocks from that family that looks similar, but on a scale. So looking at AI as an extension of that, the good things about it, that it's fast and intent-driven. The weaknesses that it's very hard it's unpredictable, it's hard to control. And again, text, images, mesh, you'll see. and using for what I already said, and going to that analogy of the rock, you see that with generative AI will get a lot more variations, color, and ideas. And obviously, those examples were done with AI, and even that slide. All right, so let's see. I'm sorry for the technical issues here. 1 second. Okay. So here's a procedural rock made in the cardboard theme that you saw before. Here's procedural with some manual placement to do an environment element. But here's the one when I'm combining with GenAI to produce, generate a mesh, and then build a procedural process on it, and then we can do any mesh. And now we'll see some case studies for specific things. So here I'm testing AI textures, and the process here, I started manually to do images and textures, then trying to get to seamless textures. And at first I did a basic setup that I write the prompt in Houdini. It writes to a text file, and then Comfy UI takes that text, I run it there, and Houdini picks it up again. So the nice thing about it that I can see the changes in Houdini on a 3D model. Okay, and it's also good for PBR setups as a base. And just another quick note about seamless textures, that this is a really basic Comfy UI setup, but I used another two elements, the seamless and the circular VAE. And for the most part, it worked for all the models, 3D models I tried. But it's definitely something to check. Then I found a much better solution. I was invited, like you all know from an hour ago, I was invited to a private beta of Houdini and Comfy UI Bridge by the magnificent Rafael Drelish and Anatoly Idanov. And then I can use the Comfy UI setup from within Houdini. So that was much, much better. So that was amazing. And thank you, Rafa, Anatoly, and the beta group. And it's much easier when you can use everything under one roof. That was awesome. All right, so here we see some mesh generation. It doesn't matter if it's a prompt to 3D or image to 3D, or if it's from web tools or Comfy UI. The idea is to bring the models in Houdini as a base and continue with procedural control. So here's just an example of a wireframe on the model, but you can make any tool you want. And a nice trick, by the way, is somebody asked before. A nice trick is to use a chat services to write your own prompts. So you can write something and let it write the prompt, and then you can use the prompt in those services. Or you can like reverse engineer prompts. You can put an image and ask it to write a prompt for that image, and then use it. So this is an example of models from different AI services. Like you see, each one has different topology, density, colors, UV. So it's very hard to build on it unless we unify them. So after we do some manipulation and unifying the shape, in this example, again, I did the wires, but you could do any style, any model, whatever you want. And because we're within Houdini, you could then play with the parameters. So here, I just voxelized it. We can play with the size, but we can do a lot. Here, I created a little workflow that takes an image. You generate an image, and then in Houdini, we create from the image, we derive the curve, and then we can build on the curve or just scatter things on it. So it's a good base as well. Here's another example. And just easy to generate those images. And it seems that with AI, sometimes it's better to, like, it's more curation than actually creation. So you can just make a lot, pick the one you like, and the nice thing that you can see them in the end result. Here's another quick test. I trained it on some of my, you see the masks, the gen image. It was trained on my style, and then I took that, extracted the silhouettes, and kind of inflated that. In the right, you see a GenAI image that AI also removed the background and got me this mask. And then I did the same thing for the tool in the left and just reprojected the image. So it's a nice, I don't know, pillow generator. But the cool thing about it, that its setup took literally a few minutes. I'm not the best coder, so AI also helps me with scripts. So this is a basic one to take, I bring it a URL and it gives me a QR code. In this one, it takes the blocks and spread them on the black parts. And this is a cute, less anticipated one, I think. It's for motion and a solver. That basically the slimy, gooey Claymation thing that you see is a prototype of a motion that I moved an object, and then the head looks like it's leading the motion. And once it stops, the head gradually goes back to the middle. So it feels like I don't know, more fluid. And the whole thing, AI wrote the script and also helped me plan the nodes and the order. So that was a nice prototype. Also a nice one. This is a level design prototype. I just made a simple network to scatter proxy assets like rocks, trees, and water. And the input is the image in the right, where green is the terrain and the trees, red are the rocks, and blue would be the water. And it's just a quick prototype, but the logic can work, and any layout or level design can work. And this is the result that we can see the scattering. But the cool thing about it, that we can change or generate the initial image. So in this particular example, I used IP adapter in Conf.UI to make sure that the images are similar, at least in colors and style. And then I tell it be like a pony, like a dove, or like a house. And each one I got a different map. And the very cool thing that we have the control of the prompt, the AI generation, and the parameters of the procedural. How many trees, how many rocks, what's the orientation, sizes, etc. So all the density, amount, orientation, you can play with it, and it's very nice. Thanks to the plugin that it's inside COPS, and you can also manipulate the images later. So this is to the right. You see it on Conf.UI and then in COPS. Okay, here I think is even more surprising. Here's a little experiment to create a data set with AI text. I gave it a map of my area and I asked it to generate building sizes, parks, and distance from the sea. The results, for me, I don't think it looks too accurate, but the idea was fun and I enjoyed testing it, so I shared it. But AI was good in coming up with the data and then with manipulating it. Like what to do with the names of the attributes or to handle it, but it doesn't look correct. So I also asked him to give me it seems fishy warning. So after all of those experiments, I want to share some practical methods and nodes, very basic stuff. But I want to start from a unified baseline so I can build upon it. So usually when we bring AI generated input, it comes in different places and sizes, different topology, densities, colors, and UVs. And I just made this small tool to automate the process. It centers the model, sets consistent size, fix set topology, and original or automatic UVs, and if I want the color or as an attribute or as a texture. I don't think one tool fits every case, but it's an example that, so just an idea. And this, I want to show some very simple yet effective nodes. So trace, you can put an image. Here I made it easy for him and I just put a mask, but any image it can derive the silhouette from, and then it's easy to take the contour line. Remesh unifies topology and density. Match size centers any model to the origin, and custom size if we want. Remesh to grid basically is operation like VDB and converting back to polygons, but it has a bit more options, so it's nice. And also, so VDB and quad remesher, so it just rebuilds clean topology and edge flow. And we talked before about cops. Any setup would do. So it's just easy, and can you combine all of the image generation options with 2D and 3D and SOPs and everything together with Conf UI. It's just amazing. So I just had to share some of the few GenAI concepts and ideas for my next environment projects. So any suggestions or ideas are welcome. I just like it. And my takeaways from the process is that AI and procedural can work together and create faster and more creative results in less time, while keeping high fidelity to the final output. More iteration, tested faster with variety leads to better results while keeping production costs low. Next for me, I want to tackle more of the machine learning capabilities of Houdini 21. And feel free to, and feel free to contact me about any feedback, ideas, or if you're interested in the free Houdini intro course or contributing there. And special thanks to Side Effects for inviting me to share my journey and findings. So Chris and the team and everyone, thank you. And special thanks to Houdini for being what it is. So I prepared a little summary and links. So if any of you are interested in starting with AI and ideas, I also made a QR so you can grab it. Mainly, I think the Conf UI here is how to start, install it, and the main tutorials. But you have a lot more, and all the way to reach me. You took it? Good. Okay, I see a lot of phones, right? And iPad. Awesome. And thank you. So if you have any questions, I hope I can answer. We can try. I think we have time before the next one.
We do. We have time for questions. Any? Yeah.
Hi. I got a question about the models. So right now, it's a bit of a shit show when it comes to training these models.
First of all, thank you. No, just kidding.
You're welcome. I'm not sure what you thank you for. My question is, where does the ethics lie in all that?
Yeah.
Because it's like, so I get my data, I train my own model, and I use that for my job. And I charge, let's say, £500 a day for my services. A competitor goes and downloads one from, I don't know, let's say the ByteDance model and generates his, but without spending that money. But because he can get that model that's been trained on well, we call it unethical data set, he's able to charge less. Where does that line, where do you put this buck? Where you say, you cannot use this model, you can use this model, what's the licensing? So for example, like Amazon and now say that for every image that's generated by AI, you have to submit the prompt. So do we need to go to a stage where we need to start submitting evidences of what we're using? And do we have to have licenses? So how do you perceive the evolution of this going forward?
Okay, so great question. I kind of prepared for questions like that. Mostly, it's like way above my pay grades what you're talking about. I think the whole world is talking about the ethics and logistics and moral issues. For me, everything that you saw here are personal projects and experiments. So I was more interested in the workflow, in the pipeline. And if it's for a commission project, it will have to be on data that like either ethically documented or all the solutions that you said, or self-trained. But I wouldn't use open source or things that were trained on other people's model in any capacity in one of the workflows without charging for it. So, but that's that's one person. So definitely the industry has to do more thinking and get with the solutions. So
More lawyers.
Yeah, but I'm like you saw before with the plugin, they're enabling or just giving the options how to do it. For me, I just wanted to give some inspiration and share my experiments. But I don't think any of us or any of the people sitting here is even capable of solving all of that. It's bigger than us. I think just we have to be fair to our friends. We are the artists, so we have to be fair to ourselves and make the best out of it. Yeah. So I hope that
I can tell you that the side effects perspective, which is we're building tools and platforms that enable artists to be creative and produce work. The inputs for those are up to you in the industry and the studios. So you want to make sure that you're using ethically sourced data or training your own or using licensed data. There's more and more of that popping up that there are companies providing licensed data. So that's the evolution, right? So as those start to evolve and become more legal and legit, and the studios are creating their guidelines, as we saw from Netflix the other day. They've got a whole sort of guideline of what they're prepared to accept, and I think we'll see more and more of that. And like I said, the lawyers will get involved and say this is okay and this is not okay. Here's who owns this and here's who owns that. That's what the world, I think, is trying to adapt to as quickly as this technology is evolving, which is very, very quickly. So, yeah.
It's more of a comment than a question, and I want you to comment back a response to it. I think my concern is rates of like how much I'm able to charge now. Like my friend's a concept artist, and when the GenAI kicked in really hard, his rate got chopped into half. I mean, to be fair, he was charging $1,000 a fucking day. So like him charging $450 doesn't make me cry more. But it's just a demonstration of like what happened during the Disney transformation from 2D to 3D. Matte painters got shrunk dramatically and their pay rate went down. I mean, I'm sometimes competing now with vendors because their pay rate went the same as mine. Like 5 years ago, a comp shop was about $800, $900 a day. Now it's come down to $500 as the discipline starts vanishing and stuff. So I guess my concern about the ethics is that those data is being generated, but they're attacking my ability to earn an income. And
so you can promote yourself as being ethic, and that everything is sourced, and you are you give them, the client, that you're responsible for that, so they won't get sued in a few years or something.
I'm going to quote
and I guess that your counterparts that take less money don't do that because they can't.
I'm going to quote my uncle's wife. Just because you're fair doesn't mean the world is. So, like, how do we get around it? Do we have to start unionizing? What's the way to go forward? Sorry, I went off.
Deep topics. Questions for Eldad? It's okay. We're not going to solve the world today, but great questions for sure. Any other questions for Eldad?
All right.
Great work. Great presentation. Thanks, Eldad.
Thank you.